they play controlled yet chaotic. I don't know how to put it. It's supposedly somewhat similar to how unicorns operate, where you're not quite sure if they know what they're doing, but they actually know what they're doing, and then suddenly you're surprised by the fact that they do actually know what they're doing, and then you're on the back foot. So I have concerns actually playing against them. Like, I think they could take 1 or 2 games from us, but a whole series is gonna be a whole different thing, so I wouldn't be too concerned about them.
Welcome back to Game 3 in this tied series between Fnatic Academy and Misfits Academy. Amazing with some interesting thoughts. They may take 1 or 2 games, but they're definitely not going to take the series from us.
I mean, if they take 2 games, it's pretty likely they can also take this series, I feel.
Yeah, it's definitely not a super confident, like, we're going to 3-0 them. Taking 1 or 2 games is very, very close to winning the series. Uncomfortably close, I think it's safe to say. Well, now with both teams having a win apiece, what do you guys think have been the biggest factors in both of these games to decide who has the advantage, to decide who could find a lead as we look at the early game?
I think mid lane has been, in these 2 games, the most important one. Obviously, I want to add in top lane as well, because I think it's very key for both games. But mainly mid lane, we had the LeBlanc plus Amazing in the first game, kind of taking down CosQ and giving full control to Fnatic Academy. And then in this game, it was the other way around, with Syndra pick being very, very good for CosQ.
And I think we expand that then to just get mid lane priority to enable the jungler, who then seems to influence the top lane. I don't think in either match the top lane really got ahead himself, but I think when jungle interaction happens in the top lane, the team that has the jungle who's already ahead will definitely come out on top. And that is so easy to do early game if you can invade. And mostly that happens if you have jungle up priority in the mid lane.
And before, you know, the game ended, we had a little pause where we talked a lot about Jisoo on this Jace, how they were kind of baiting it with the Nautilus. It looked like, okay, they're putting the Nautilus top again against the Fizz. A little bit risky. Maybe he gets beaten early game and then outscaled completely, but there was in the swap with the Jace at the end. And I think while the laning phase was a little bit shaky, also due to that
unfortunate flash,
yeah, the flash where he actually did flash to the side, but the fish still managed to hit him. He managed it later on in the game to just completely take over the side lane. Like, he obviously builds full damage, he gets Last Whisper, the Fizz, doesn't really get tanky enough or doesn't have enough damage to really challenge the Jace, also with the Hexdrinker. So I really like that for late game split push, and it gave them a lot of pressure.
Jace into Fizz works because if you look at it, one of the strengths of Jace is if you run away from him, you will get a shock blast in the back. So that's good. And Fizz's engagement pattern is going in and then leaping out, right? So like if Fizz stays in, you have these really 3 quick shots that you can use from Jisoo, as well as you have a Maw where Fizz wants to burst you low enough, and then with those 3 fast shots, you can actually regen quite a lot with the Maw active on you and stay into combat, and then you can always chase the Fizz back down.
And I think we're just going to see more and more players and teams are going to realize that blind picking Fizz is really risky. There's a lot of different counters to him. Like Renekton was also open in this one, which is a really good matchup for Renekton. There's some other counters we haven't really seen, like Fiora, that could come in as well.
I mean, Nars is still a skill matchup, but
definitely. I mean, Kled also should also beat the Fizz. So there are situations where I can understand for a player that Fizz looks extremely powerful on the stage because he's had some really good games the last 2 weeks. Blind picking it is risky, though.
We're talking a lot about top lane. How crucial is red side, as Fnatic have selected it here, and getting that last pick and saving that last pick for top lane? Is that going to be a massive deciding factor, or is this something that you can kind of mitigate the risk of picking from blue side?
I don't think you can completely remove the risk. I think Gragas is the safest blue side blind pick you can go for. He can lane against a lot of these like late game bullies up in top lane. But we didn't see that in game 1. We saw Nautilus blind pick there. That adaptation could help blue side. Generally, it is hard to get winning solo laners on blue side because of the counter picks on red.
Fnatic have chosen red side, to my knowledge. So I think what they want to look for is just get any scaling bot lane and play that. We've not seen any action on the bot lane. So I think if you get any matchup that is okay and scales fairly well, you can go for that. But you definitely want to solidify that mid lane pick. You want to get it early on. And then worst case, if the enemy doesn't match you, you just ban out the 2 strongest mid laners right there. And then you hold your counter pick for the top lane, and I think that sets you up for a really good, strong early game.
I actually wonder if we're going to see Syndra first pick for Misfits Academy. Because if Orianna or Echo are the answers, I think that's okay for Misfits Academy. CosQ, with a farming jungler, can't play a champion where he needs jungle help early. Like, that kind of matchup will not work for them because Pride Stalker wants to play the farming game on Graves so far. And Amazing didn't really favor Graves in the pick and ban phase just yet a whole lot, also in the last series. So I don't think you need to first pick that champion. You could actually potentially give it over to him and still get a good pick for Pride Stalker, but Syndra seems really key for me in CosQ.
I mean, it seems so simple at this point from what you guys are saying.
It's not that simple.
I mean, it seems like mid lane priority, though, is the biggest focus for both of these teams. I'm curious, is mid lane priority the first thing you need before you can even look at Krepo? For instance, you talked about scaling bottom lane, other options on the top side.
It's a trade-off, right? It depends how hard you get punished for tunnel visioning on a certain pick, but I think definitely the difference is shown with Cosq on a comfortable champion and Cosq on a matchup that is losing. We've seen the difference between Amazing trying to invade with help from his solo laners, or even his bot lane, and Amazing invading without the help of them. Like, we've seen these disparities already in Game 1 and 2, which should make a clear identity to, like, what do we want to achieve in Game 3 if we are Fnatic and the Misfits Academy. Yeah,
I just think playing with, like, no mid lane pressure is something very few teams in the world can do. Yeah. Like, you can see SKT do it, where they manage to, like, trade on the map, like, cross-map all the time. Barely any teams in the West can actually do that perfectly. So, obviously, as a challenger team, you don't need to put yourself in that situation. And that's why if you have a winning mid lane, it always snowballs pressure into the other side lanes and into the jungle. And it just like, gives you more freedom, which is really good. And it gives you more options in the early game.
All right, well, it sounds like a lot will be decided in picks and bans. So let's get there as quickly as possible. Let's send it over to the casters to take it away for Game 3.
Thank you very much, Dracos. It's going to be an exciting Game 3, I'm sure. You know what excites me most, Stress?
About Game 3?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What
exactly?
Well, because we've got a tied series, it means we've got at least 2 more games of League of Legends, which is always an enjoyable experience. Fnatic have picked the red side here. Misfits Academy go back to the blue. And we have seen that top lane last pick be locked in both these games.
Yeah, I agree also with what the analysts are talking about with the mid lane matchup as well. Whether we'll see adaptations in the jungle, I feel like Amazing won't go Rek'Sai this game. There's a lot still to uncover in this pick and ban phase, where we're going to have a bit of a mini meta within this series. Well, looking forward to it.
Yeah, we are going to get into Champion Select once again. The Malzahar band from Misfits Academies to start us off. Shen, Lulu, Rengar, Camille. It's pretty much the same thus far.
Yeah, which would imply first pick Graves coming out from Misfits Academy, although Krepo was talking about the possibility of first pick Syndra. I think that is an option for Cosq. He has also kind of just said, okay, well, I'll play the Cassiopeia into the Syndra. Obviously, Game 1 was the LeBlanc-Katarina matchup, so there was a bit of an adaptation in Game 2.
There is the Rengar ban, so Fnatic Academy sticking with exactly the same bans all 3 games, and it looks like it might be the Syndra lock-in, so...
Profit Krepo up there.
Yeah, knows what he's talking about.
Now, Varus, will it be the Graves? Okay, Lee Sin here because they say, okay, Pride Stalker, you play the Graves, we don't really care about it. So they take the Lee Sin away. It was so much better in Game 1 than the Rek'Sai played for Amazing in Game 2. And now Misfits Academy. Will it be the bot lane? The Ashe likely has to be picked up in this rotation.
Yeah, Yuki can still go to the Ashe, as we were saying, even though the Varus has been picked away from him, and then perhaps a support pick alongside that.
No, it's Ashe Graves. Yeah. It has to be Ashe Graves at this point if they want to play the Ashe matchup into Varus, otherwise it will end up getting banned. So I like the optimism on support instead of jungle, but I think for Pride Stalker, he's too easily picked off.
Yeah.
If you have already banned Rengar and then Graves isn't available and Lee Sin's on the opposite side, too easy to ban out the rest of his champions. So now we go mid lane. Echo, Orianna are the most likely options.
But Niski's Orianna didn't really do a huge amount, and instead they're going to go for the Braum here and then perhaps lock out those support picks later on. So no mid lane means that Misfits can decide to ban towards that if they want.
And we saw the Braum in Game 1 come out from Cly. It was banned in Game 2, so clearly prioritizing some of that comfort, a little bit of disengage coming through. Maybe opens up the ability to 1-3-1 for Fnatic Academy if the Echo remains available. Fizz is off the board despite finding a good matchup. This is because they don't want Fnatic to last pick the Fizz. Misfits Academy, though, they know if the Nautilus comes out, it'll be an Akali pickup from Fnatic Academy, but double support ban again. Zyra, Karma off the board. Tahm Kench has to be the option for Misfits Academy when it rolls around.
Tahm Kench is still there. The Cloud and the Fizz ban coming out from Misfits Academy. So now Fnatic, as you said, probably going to pick their mid laner here. Could be the Ari. Very strong at the moment, although not what we expect to see out of Niski.
It's a bit of a skill matchup in the mid lane against the Syndra. Syndra is way more reliable than Ari. Of course, Ari relies a lot on the charm. Gives a lot of pick potential. Lee Sin, Ari, if one person steps too far forward, easily picked off. So
I think this is Niski's first Ari game as well. It's going to be the Nautilus pick. Now, what is left open here for Fnatic?
Depends whether they put this Nautilus for Misfits Academy support, which is not the likely option. Could go top lane here. Otherwise, top lane, where else would they go for a blind pick?
Jisoo has played Poppy. The Rumble is there as well, although Rumble can struggle.
Problem is, all of these champions have difficult matchups. If they go Rumble, then the Na matchup can come out for for Fnatic Academy if they want it. We've seen people try and play things like Talon into Rumble.
I think what you don't realize is it's...
And this is another pick, sorry. It's already the NALCS.
Yeah. Dr. Mundo looks like it could be picked up here. As you say, we did see it in the NALCS, but it's going to be Jarvan instead.
Okay.
Oh, baby.
Okay, it's an old Gamsu special. Running Jarvan top. I mean, Misfits Academy said at the beginning of the day, we're the team that can run anything at you. Fnatic are trying to challenge that. Kikis adds yet another unique champion to his lineup for this split. So Jarvan, if ever there is a snowball solo laner that is not normally played in a solo lane, Jarvan is the one. You basically need to just get ahead and keep getting kills, more so than a lot. This is likely to be like full damage or maybe that kind of bruiser-ish if he ends up going Titanic Hydra. Trying to just crush Jisoo in like all-ins by the looks of it.
Well, it's his 13th unique champion across the split. It's an unlucky number for some people. I'm sure Fnatic will be hoping it's a lucky number for them. It's such an surprising pick to see, and now we're going to have to see exactly how Fnatic Academy are able to use it to their advantage. Misfits Academy, however, gone for what seems to be more of a team-orientated composition, more team fights.
Yeah, they have. You say it's the 13th unique pick. To put that in perspective, I believe they've only played 21 games.
Sounds about right to me. So
Kikis is just playing whatever he wants. As you said, more team fight for the third game in a row from Misfits Academy. Perhaps even more ramped up with the Rumble alongside now. Most people would just have picked Na.
The thing is as well, Kikis was sick for a week. I've just thought about this.
Oh, so he sat out 2 games. Yeah, that's true.
14 odd games he's played.
Ah, Kikis.
Oh, Kikis indeed. Well, oh, Fnatic Academy and oh, Misfits Academy as we get onto the Summoners with for the third game of this series. It's tied 1-1. Not much to separate these two teams. Well, perhaps that Jarvan Cataclysm can separate them into the good and the great.
Yeah, we don't see Jarvan very often. And when we do, it's normally not in the top lane unless you're watching Gamsu play, as we were talking about. But, I mean, it is a very strong side laner, highly mobile, you know, as long as you're ahead in the matchup. Otherwise, you get, like, 1v1 down quickly. You can obviously use the standard to drag yourself out, get the knock-up.
And when you've got a Lee Sin, an early aggressive jungler, you have a jungler who we know likes to spend time towards that top side. Had quite a high jungle proximity last game with Kikis, into a Rumble who, after you burn his flash, is very low mobility.
Yeah. I would not want to play into Jarvan Lee Sin on the top side if I were Jisoo.
No. However, he has shown us how strong he can be in those 2v1s.
Right, but the whole thought process on this, I believe, for Fnatic Academy is that Rumble pushes. Like, automatically pushes, steps far forward in the lane. Jarvan is exceptionally good at punishing people that are too far out. The range on EQ and then flashing at the end of it for the knockup to carry over is considerable. It's not quite the same as a Camille, but the idea is the same. Kikis, is he going to take one of the Raptors? No,
Looks like not.
Not opting for that early level in the lane.
I think the second question is Amazing just going to level 2 gate top? Does he go for his red and then go straight towards top here just to try and force Jisoo back even further?
That would be pretty disgusting if that happened. I think he'll probably go Krugs and recall at that point.
It's always a possibility.
We'll see whether he ends up going bot side, actually. That's what Amazing has tended to do, and he's pathing down towards it. So now he's going to opt to cover his blue. And the reason he's doing this is look at how Pridestalker goes over the ward. Now they know he's trying to invade. This is one of the strengths that Graves normally has, is the mobility over the wall. Pridestalker does not have his smite, whereas Amazing does. Pridestalker spots Amazing on the ward. Now knows he's wasted a bunch of time. Dreams is here. And Cly Gets himself out over the wall. So Price took a little bit of wasted time, but it does slow down Amazing.
Yeah, he's going to path up towards his blue now, so it's not too much harm for him there. In the bottom lane, once again, we see the Ashe into Varus matchup. Now, Ashe and Nautilus have great pick potential, especially when you get towards that level 6, but you do have the Braum here with the Unbreakable to try and block things up. You've got Stand beside me to dodge around a little bit more. I feel this is a harder matchup for the Ashe and Nautilus than playing into that Karma, who's quite easy to pick out.
Yeah, I suppose that is fairly true. I mean, it's one of those matchups where they got so much crowd control as well at the same time that post 6, it's like, oh, Braum caught the arrow. Great, now you get caught by every other ability too, but still is one that Cly has used in game 1 and went okay, was pretty good. But Fnatic Academy have been on the losing end of bot lane once we've got past the level 1 push in both games so far already. Obviously game 1, Fnatic Academy were ahead overall, but bot lane still were struggling slightly.
It's indicative of the way the teams play as well, especially the way the supports path, because we see so often Cly is pathing with Amazing to try and get that deeper vision, leaving Mr. Rales by himself, whereas Dreams and Yuki tend to be tied at the hip a little bit more and spend a lot more time together in the lane.
So we saw in the top side, Kick is taking a bit of a rough trade against Jizu. That is Thunderlord's Jarvan. So
just burst potential.
Watch out, Solo Q. What about that burst?
Now, I just want to bring attention to one main stat here. Firstly, Jisoo did a great job of farming into Kikis. He got ahead early on, but look at the damage per minute.
Yeah.
Jisoo did 4 times as much damage as Kikis per minute and actually had 40% of his team's entire damage that game.
So the context on this stat is the key thing. First of all, Misfits Academy was super far ahead. Yeah. So it's to be expected that Jisoo would have a lot of damage, but you pair that with the fact he was on a champion that does a lot of poke damage, does a lot of ranged into melee. Kikis could never close a gap. So yes, Kikis is very low, but at the same time, like, it's exactly how that matchup you would expect to play out once the Jace is ahead.
Kozky's going to spot out Amazing here as he takes the Scuttle Crab, meaning that they know that Lee Sin is up towards that top side of the map. Pride Stalker as well has been sighted. Jisoo's going to continue to force Kikis back, but with that Sapphire Crystal early on, he's not really doing too much. However, Niski here does have the flash. Exhaust used straight away. Niski caught out. Niski still has flash, tries to get away, but Pride Stalker just takes him out.
Through the exhaust, it wasn't enough for Niski to stay alive. Not level 6 yet, so couldn't get himself out. And Amazing was on the top side of the map, trying to sit around Kikis because Kikis didn't actually complete his recall there. So again, Fnatic Academy are starting to struggle in the laning phase with a composition that they've picked themselves into. Kikis, if this was maybe a few seconds later, if Jisoo was 6, it's an easy kill, but Pride Stalker's coming up anyway. Kikis is going to respect that and back away, but Fnatic Academy have picked themselves into this situation again. And this is how Misfits Academy punished mid lane. Niski was pushed up. They didn't have vision on CosQ. There was no wards really on either side of the river. There was one blocking Raptors, but that was it. No way of knowing what was coming.
And it's the 3rd time in this series we have seen CosQ be involved in that first blood. It's, this time it hasn't picked it up. The last 2 games he did. Now, the question is, can they use this assist on him to start snowballing that Syndra as they did in the last game? Even Pride Stalker being ahead on the Graves is great. Now Jisoo's going to continue to harass onto Kikis, puts the Equalizer down, and there are 2 members of Misfits coming up. CosQ is coming up through that jungle, and if Kikis stays around too long, he's going to get caught out. Does have flash, unleash powers, not quite enough. Flashes away, CosQ can't land a sphere, but Misfits Academy are the ones making the plays.
And they're punishing this Jarvan pick. We talked about how Jarvan is a snowballing champion that can, if he gets ahead, destroy a pick like Rumble because you just put too much damage out too quickly. But early on in the game, Kikis took a couple of rough trades. Jisoo is able to push up. Amazing, never visited top lane to punish the over-pushing Rumble. And Fnatic Academy, again, will lose tower first blood in the top lane.
Now, as they lose this first blood, Amazing was sitting around mid, but he hasn't been able to get onto CosQ, even with CosQ having burnt his flash. Perhaps he's going to try and sneak around the back. It's a dangerous road to take, and CosQ knows something's up. He's playing very safe. Niski has no flash, and they will just be able to get a little bit of chip damage onto this turret, but it's not enough.
And what Fnatic Academy chose to do in this game was play the risky style into a fairly clever Misfits draft. When you look at it, they take the Nautilus, they take the Rumble, they basically leave a Nara available, and I like internally I'm thinking that if this was not Echo, Fnatic Academy I feel like would have a stronger setup all around. This Ahri is being punished from Niski playing aggressively. It's not the champion pick, but it's Niski. But Kikis and Amazing have not been able to work together, and we're already 8 minutes into this game.
And you can see a perfect example of that there. Amazing uses Dragon's Rage kick, then uses Sonic Wave, then flashes out. Kikis tries to go for the engage, we see Jisoo flashing away, but it's just, it doesn't feel coordinated. It feels very much more, almost like a, well, you know, you'd call in solo queue a cheese strategy. It's like, okay, we can get someone ahead, but they're not playing it as if they've tried this style a lot of times before. I
mean, it's likely they have practiced it. It's just, people play differently on stage and in scrims, and I don't necessarily think this is the sole reasoning here, but I'm sure whenever Kikis has played Jarvan top lane, he's been in a situation where like the enemy's not respecting him and he jumps in, the jungle is there and they get a kill. This time, Jisoo's played with a lot of respect towards that. He's pushed up, Pridestalker has covered for him, Amazing has never found the impact, and suddenly we've gone from 1 tower going down to 2. This is Misfits Academy now utilizing the advantage in bottom lane that they've had in every single game. Now it's paying off into a tower. They're getting further and further ahead, and this is exactly like game 2.
And what I love as well is they switch Jisoo away from the lane that can kill him. They say, we'll put you down in a 3-man stack bot. Pridestalker can defend top lane tower in case Kikis wants to get the turret down. They give Jisoo the gold. They start to get him ahead, and now you can see he's going to build up towards Seekers and probably a Zhonya's next.
I'm expecting Misfits Academy to minimize the time that Jisoo is in lane against Kikis and try and maximize the time that they're dragging Fnatic into fights. Yes, Jarvan can fight, but at this point in the game, he is way too weak. This is not a jungle Jarvan that is going Cinderhulk into tank, into I just engage, and everybody else does the damage. This is a Jarvan that will almost build full glass cannon. And against the Rumble in team fights, you just lay that equalizer down and that Jarvan will die.
The thing is, in the last couple of games, we've seen perhaps, you know, Kikis fall behind a little bit, Jisoo get ahead, and then later on in the game, Kikis has been able to get back into it, get scaling up. Jarvan doesn't seem to do that in the same way.
It's not necessarily that the Kikis will scale later into the game, but I anticipate Kikis to get a lot of the side lane farm as this game goes further. That's where Misfits Academy have to try and start fights, have to try and get things going on the map. Early Cloud Drake priority out of Fnatic Academy. This is partly to try and recycle the Drakes, see what else is on, but also because they can't threaten towers in the bot lane or top lane right now, so they're looking for any objective they can get. A mid tower here would do them a lot of good here, and you can see with the Jarvan they bring 5 people in. Yuki lets the arrow fly, but I think this tower's dead anyway.
It's going to hit onto Niski. Pridestalker's there, as is CosQ. Unleash Power would have been blocked by the Unbreakable. They're going to get a knockback.
Here comes Rumble though. Watch the track.
Equalizer's going to be up as well. There is of course a turret flash away by Rales. Are they going to still go for this? Misfits Academy. Unleash Power onto Niski. Not enough damage.
But it's composed again out of Misfits Academy. They know that once they step up as a whole team, as 5, they can equalizer on top of Fnatic and then punish them. It's about to happen.
They've got the death charge. They've got the equalizer. Split Fnatic in 2. Draw Amazing back. He's going to jump away. There's the Glacial Fissure onto Yuki. Fnatic hold on.
And this is one of the reasons why we've seen Fnatic pick the Braum, is it is a bit of a stalling tactic. You can use it to try and disengage because topside, Misfits Academy, they're going to try this again. Topside's pushing in their favor. So is bot side. And Fnatic Academy have to commit 4 people here to defend this tower.
Amazing's on his way back as well. Turret down to half. Once again, Unbreakable comes down just to try and block some of those projectiles. 3-man knockback. In fact, I think it was 4. And Niski's Spirit Rush is out. Misfits Academy, how long do you continue the siege?
Well, every time they're cycling a member of Fnatic out, and now you can see that Mr. Rales was looking to head bot side because that's such an influential wave of experience in the bot lane. He desperately wants that farm, wants that experience, but he has to stay mid. Otherwise, they lose mid tower. I think they're going to lose it anyway. Rales maybe should have just gone bot to pick that up straight away. It's going to go over to Niski in the end of all things, but Fnatic Academy lose mid tower. They did, however, answer with mid tower of their own about a minute and a half earlier.
Misfits Academy get about a 2,500 gold lead. They're actually looking to collapse onto Jisoo here as well. Kikis was on his way, not going to be able to quite connect, and the rest of Misfits Academy are just around the corner. Kikis still looking for it, but decides against it. Across the board, we're starting to see those first item spikes hit. Abyssal Scepter first for Niski, defensive choice.
Yep.
And then we're going to see Morello Nomicon for Kozq will be his first item alongside those Sorcerer's Shoes.
Yeah, we've seen a whole bunch of defensive Ari builds. We've seen Abyssal into Zhonya's out of Power of Evil.
Yeah, it doesn't tend to work too well.
Yeah, it's like if you're playing a snowballing kind of champion and you're behind, it's already going badly for you, but I guess this is like trying to just stop losing anything you can, right? And try and hang on.
We have also seen the Hextech Gunblade build on the Aries as well. It's started to rise in popularity alongside
Blade
the
in the name.
Yes.
That's why...
anything that's bladed is good, apparently.
It's only if it's in the name.
Only if it's in the name, okay. Well, to see. I'm trying to think of something that's bladed that doesn't have blade
I'm
in the
actually
name.
trying to think of more.
That's it's a blade, isn't it? But not in League of Legends. Generally a blade.
Yeah.
Skirmisher's Saber.
But it doesn't have the word blade in it.
Yeah, but that's why no one gets it.
Exactly.
That's why everyone gets Tracker's Knife, because Knife is closer to blade than Saber is. Anyway, Misfits Academy continuing to keep this lead up. However, Fnatic have stalled it for the time being. Only 2,000 gold the difference. And the question now becomes, how well does this Jarvan really go into the mid lane? Look, it's only about a mid game, so only about 700 gold difference in that top lane. I think across the board, it's pretty even, apart from jungle, where Pridestalker's extended his lead to about 1,000.
I think the difficulty is, though, it's not going to be seen in the gold, in the stats. It's going to get seen in the team fights, where Kikis has the ability to go off and, like, just Cataclysm, and remember, it does damage to, like, everyone that's in that radius as of a patch change a long time ago. So maybe if he finds somebody, or 2 or 3 people that have already been damaged, he can go off and get Tiamat and everything going. But then Misfits Academy have such a more simple way. It's Ash Arrow into Hook from Nautilus. Then you've got Rumble, Syndra, Graves will bring the damage, and everybody on Fnatic Academy will struggle to stay alive in that team fight. So it's Fnatic playing a tricky composition.
I think this is our 5th Cloud Drake in a row, Stress. We've been slightly unfortunate over the last couple of games.
Well,
been taken, but...
You know what they say? Well, I guess it's an ocean next. April showers, clouds.
That's true, yeah. Cloudy with a chance of Dark Spheres for Clyde. He will take one to the face, but manages to get himself away.
Cloudy. Yeah, I like that.
Thanks.
I never watched Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Really good movie, actually. Really
yeah?
enjoyable, yeah. Surprisingly so. Although I'm quite...
There was a second one. I'm like, how do you not figure out how meatballs come from the sky after one film?
I'm not going to spoil the plot slightly here, but it's an invention by an inventor that causes it, and then this whole world is created. I haven't seen the second one. I'm very much for those sort of animated films, though. Quite like the excitement they bring, as this game has done at points. Slowed down a little bit here, though, Stress.
Yeah, but I think you can... Whoever invented the Meatball Cloud Machine invented this draft out of Fnatic right now, because it's a little bit unorthodox, a little bit topsy-turvy going into lane matchups that... I mean, there's a reason Fnatic would have picked this. They're like, okay, we can handle the Rumble with the Jarvan in the top side. We can try and take the 1 versus 1. All we got to do is get a little bit ahead. But unfortunately, that didn't go their way. Yeah. In the start of this game, Jisoo pushed up. Amazing couldn't help capitalize. So now we get to see how Fnatic can do from behind with another unorthodox pick.
It's the same as last game, though.
Yeah.
They had the fizz, they fell behind, and they weren't able to ever really get back into it. Although Misfits did make a few shot-calling errors later on, or perhaps just didn't make them quite as perfectly as they could have done. Cloud Drake being started up here. Jisoo's not here. He's TPing in, though. Looks like Misfit wants to fight. Kikis is up towards top side.
Where's the equalizer?
Equalizer will be huge if it lands. Scatter the Weak misses. Ooh. There it goes on 3. Amazing caught out. Amazing will go down. Kozq solidifies the kill. They're going to chase onto Clyde. Unleash power, not enough. Dragon goes down to Pridestalker, and now Niski tries to get in the back line, but there's 3 members of Misfits waiting in the wings.
Here goes Kikis.
Onto Kozq. That's a kill for him. Niski's escape, but Pridestalker's not going to let him get away. Another kill. Kikis, how do you get out of this one? He has got the flash, but the blast cone knocks him back into the rest of Misfits. He'll jump across the wall and get himself to safety.
Everything about self-preservation after the kill there for Kikis, but Misfits Academy know they can fight Fnatic Academy around this dragon. It's an easy equalizer to cut off a lot of the escape path for Fnatic Academy, and then they just fractured. Everybody on Fnatic Academy went different ways, and Misfits just picked them off time and time again. And it looks like it's becoming all too easy for this Misfits Academy lineup.
We have seen what Kikis can do, though, there. The Cataclysm came down. It was Cloudy with a chance of Cataclysm for CosQ as he got taken out, but it's not that impactful if you can't land it on a few members, and he was very late to the fight.
Yeah, and that's the other half of that is, if you're at the end of the fight, you somehow have to deal with 5 members of Misfits, so you're trying to start Dragon against a Rumble team. It's not going to end up that well for you. So Fnatic Academy on the run. You can see Niski's trying to come in through the back. Kikis had only just arrived. The TP was late, ends up in the back line. Yes, he goes aggressive onto CosQ, gets the kill. Forces the flash from Yuki. Pride Stalker flash. So maybe these summoners being down will come back to bite Misfits Academy. But this is how Rales died. We didn't actually see it on the main screen. Just gets run down by Jisoo.
Roasted.
Yeah.
Oh, gonna be another Rift Tower. This is a surprise, in all honesty. You don't tend to see Rift Tower taken in every single game. Usually it's taken in about half or so in Challenger Series. Schalke only took 1 Rift Tower across their 10 games, but these teams prioritizing it a little bit more to try and stop that possibility of a split push.
Well, the other side of that is like Misfits Academy are just looking for any kind of increase to their lead right now. They have the timing on that. No Dragon, no mid tower, no bot tower, no top tower. So until they push the waves up, it really was the only thing that's available for them other than clearing the jungle. So that's what they're going to do as the second facet of this. And then we get the Baron in 40 seconds.
Oh,
so
baby.
we get the good old dance we've seen 2 games worth of already, which we saw Fnatic rush it in game 1. We saw Misfits try and rush it in game 2 and nearly give the game away. Yeah. Will it be cleaner in game 3? You have to hope so.
You have to hope so, indeed. Misfits, of course, very good at playing around those Barons. Got a pentakill for Yuki when Origin started a Baron pretty badly. And, of course, that series is coming up after this one, the Origin Giants, to see which of those former LCS teams will remain with a shot of getting back into the summer split.
Yeah, loser leaves town, basically, on that one. One team must be eliminated from LCS summer.
And one of these teams is going to the LCS summer. They're playing for all of the marbles this game. And perhaps that's going to start to weigh on Misfits, because Fnatic Academy, we talked about this in game 1, they've been here before. They're LCS veterans across the board. Only Niski has not played in the LCS. Jisoo's actually going to get knocked back by Cly here as Kikis looks for the collapse. Jisoo's all by himself, doesn't have flash, has no escape as the charm lands, and Jisoo taken out by Fnatic.
Oh, do Fnatic turn for the Baron on this one as well? They thought about it for a second, but Pride Stalker is here. They're going to go for the tower instead. You talk about this being for all the marbles. Looks like Misfits Academy, they had the marble run set up, but there was a blockage at one point. Jisoo gets caught out. It doesn't quite make the end. They got to go back to the drawing board and see where that problem all went wrong.
That they have. CosQ is pushing up the bottom lane as well, so that's going to get up towards the turret. Misfits Academy not quite able to play around their lead when there isn't an obvious objective for them to take.
Yeah, Misfits Academy will, however, take control of vision. That in itself is kind of a soft objective, where you go in, you're getting double wards down into the jungle of Fnatic Academy. They have that triangle of control wards set up that pretty much every team does now, but obviously here in Europe, Misfits' sister team were one of the teams that was doing this most prevalently throughout the early weeks, making sure you get this triangle of wards, control this area, and basically fight over it. LCK's been doing that for like years, so you've always got to kind of give them credit on it. But here in Europe, certainly the organization of the Misfits has put an insane focus on vision, but that hasn't been there the entire series long. This is starting to fall into place for Misfits.
The problem is, though, if you place a lot of wards around and then everyone backs and Fnatic just walk into the river, they get vision control over it once again. So although you can know what you're meant to do, sometimes actually enacting that is a little bit tougher. Amazing and Clyde taken down to half. Stand beside me will be used by that Braum to get away. Charm misses, as does the chain of corruption, but here is Kikis, and there goes Cosq. The Cataclysm just destroys him now. Misfits Academy look to see if they can fight the 4v5. They take down one. The rest of Misfits do survive for the time being. Nisqy off towards the side with Kikis looking for the flank. Not quite going to be able to get the engage they need. Yeah,
Fnatic Academy with a couple of low members don't want to go into this fight. It's Rales that ended up dying, and he hasn't looked as comfortable as he has on the Ezreal from last week, playing this low mobility AD carry. This is game 3 of 3 on Varus. He's outputting a good amount of damage, but in team fights, Fnatic aren't able to cover for him as well as when he has his own method of escaping.
We can see the power of Kikis in that last fight, though. Cataclysm on towards Cosq and just demolished him, absolutely stopped Misfits from being able to play the fight in the way they wanted. Cloud will go over to Misfits here, though. Second of the game for them. Third of the game all around.
And that absolutely will happen. If he finds Yuki or Cosq, he will be able to just go right into the backline. Unfortunately, Rales didn't quite land the Chains of Corruption, otherwise this may have been even cleaner from Fnatic. But you can see Rales tries to get himself out, had the QSS, tried to heal, tried to flash out, but in the end of all things, that massive range on the Equalizer was enough to just take him out on that first tick of the animation starting.
We are still only sitting at a 3,000 gold differential between these two teams, and Misfits haven't shown us that they know enough in this mid-game to be able to close it out.
And that's the considerable difference between this game and the last one, was the last game Misfits Academy were much further ahead. I mean, as we were getting closer to 25, 30 minutes, we were starting to get to that 8, 9, 10,000 gold lead.
It was 10,000 only 27 minutes in.
Ooh. It was a big lead. Not quite the same on this one.
Could still happen. We still have 3 minutes before we get their stress, and I'm sure Misfits will be looking to set something up. The question is how they do it, because Kikis has teleport, splitting in the bottom lane. He's going to get himself a tower now, and that just shrinks that gold lead ever so slightly.
And he'll push very quickly because, while you don't inherently build anything like attack speed, you build a lot of damage, and when you got that standard out, you do get that the boost to your attack speed from, you know, celebrating Demacia.
Exactly, it's just a celebration of superior judgment, isn't it? Who's that? Whose line is that? That is a line from a champion in the game.
It sounds like it would be a Garen line.
Celebration of superior judgment.
It sounds like it would be a Garen line.
It does,
if I'm honest.
And it's probably why I remember it, because when I play against Garens, it tilts me pretty hard. Misfits Academy setting up against this Baron once again. Will the Baron tilt them, or will they be able to shut Fnatic out of this game? Once again, it's just a vision game, Stress. It's just that soft objective, but neither of these teams are able to solidify that into something more.
On the plus side, we've broken our streak. It's now Mountain Drake, because there's been 3 clouds, so you can see the difference in vision control for both teams on control wards purchased. I mean, Fnatic Academy went behind, tried to regroup their vision. Now they're trying to just run away from this fight. They are still 2,000 gold down.
I'm actually really interested in that control ward stat as well, because we saw Fnatic getting the 4 Farsight alterations and then not buying that many control wards.
Well, that's a bit of a problem for Fnatic if that's the case, if you're going to opt towards that. They have got Sweeper on Clyde this game around. Amazing has stuck with his Trinket ward, wants to be able to just have another ward jump, despite having Tracker's Knife.
Sometimes you just need more wards.
It also helps facilitate Amazing's Kikis playstyle, where, you know, Trinket wards kind of last longer on average than blue Trinket wards. So, yeah.
Oh, Nisqy. Pride jumps in here. Chain of Corruption misses. Amazing is off towards the side. Kikis knocked up with the depth charge.
That's important. Kikis will not want to go aggressive at this point, unless he is literally trading his life for Cosq, just like 1 for 1, and that's all he's looking for. But then, of course, you got Jizu, you got Pride Stalker, Yuki to deal with, and that's 1 damage threat from Fnatic down.
They're going to continue the chase here onto Clyde, but Misfits are just playing around vision once again. There's a teleport for Kikis. Amazing. Caught out off towards the side. No Flash has the kick, but can he get away from Misfits? He cannot. They get another kill, and that is the jungler for Fnatic Academy down.
Yeah, Misfits Academy are going to just deny Fnatic pushing mid lane, and now they'll turn towards the Baron. With no smite available, it's going to be a tough ask for Fnatic Academy to steal this one away. If Misfits actually end up starting it, they're going to back away, take blue buff. I don't know whether this is exactly the right idea, because they're giving Fnatic time to at least get this portion of the jungle where they can step safely into.
So there's a ward that spotted them walk into here that's now cancelled out by this control ward. Fnatic Academy coming for the two-sided flank. Kick is there. Equalizer onto Rales. Here comes Kickis. He's looking for the engage. Clyde jumps in. The Baron is low. Rales survives. Kickis jumps in. They've got the rumble, and now they're looking for more. Dreams dead. Baron across towards Misfits. It's a 2-for-2 exchange with the Baron. Kosku in the front line gets away from Niski, and Misfits Academy will take that.
3 left around the pit for both teams, but the fact Pride Stalker was there to secure the Baron was enough for Misfits Academy. Fnatic were trying to play it in a very tense situation, trying to just put as much damage into the pit as they could, and ultimately come away with only a handful of kills, whereas Misfits get themselves the Baron buff.
Misfits need to work out how they're going to play around this, though. What are their options? Because Jisoo really can't split into Kickis anymore. They have another look at this Baron fight and then talk about that.
Yeah, so the damage comes through from Rales. It's a good equalizer to cut Rales off from his poke. Jisoo flashes in, tries to just do as much as he can here, but ends up overextending. From there, though, you can see Pride Stalker had secured the Barons, got the smite down on it easily. Kosku forced to flash out, may end up being punished. This is one of these things where Misfits Academy using their flashes at the tail end of fights. Look, Fnatic Academy have flash on Rales, Niski, amazing. Maybe they can catch him out. They want to try and fight.
TP in by Kickis. Pride Stalker's down to half. Redemption used. Depth charge down. Dreams is the target. He's dead. A killing spree for Niski, but here comes Kosku with the unleashed power. The charm is going to connect. Kickis there. Pride Stalker, there's the equalizer. And Fnatic are going to burn down. Now the chase from the rest of Misfits. Rales caught out. They'll only be able to flash away, and Misfits will continue their advance.
It was a slight priority choice from Kickis that went awry. Maybe he should have looked for Kosku, but he tried to go on Pride Stalker, just trying to get the damage down. I think Yuki was stood next to him, so they were trying to just get damage. Clay is going to pull the minions so that the Baron buff doesn't get applied in time, but it will end up resulting likely in top tower, although Niski's going up there. Fnatic have done a decent job of slowing Misfits Academy off that last fight.
They will at least get the mid lane turret, which means their Baron buff was worth it. They'll get top lane as well. So 2 towers off that, and they won the fight as well. Misfits Academy now will back away and just reset. Prepare for perhaps that Mountain Drake, or perhaps even to wait for the next Baron.
So this was the fight I want to watch. Did Kickis have the option to go on Kosku when he ended up in this fight? Because he comes right into the fight, gets chunked heavily. That's a good arrow. Catches a bunch of Fnatic members. Kickis goes on to Pride Stalker. Everybody else is high health there, so it's not like he was looking for just that dunk kill. Don't think he could quite reach Kosku at first. Now we're into a dragon fight. TB coming in from behind. We've seen this before, and it didn't end well for Fnatic.
Clyde takes the arrow, but Niski's low. Clyde's going to get taken out. Niski trying to escape with the Spirit Rush. There's the equalizer. Doesn't quite connect properly. Kickis actually is on the back of this fight as well. I think he just backs away from this. Doesn't want to trade into 5 members of Misfits.
Fnatic are constantly trying to fight a team that has Ashe, Rumble, Syndra, Nautilus in team fight situations when they are playing more of a pick-oriented composition, because Misfits are only allowing them certain fights, and it plays so much better to the strength of Misfits Academy, and Fnatic don't have many options available for Kickis, for Niski to actually get these fights started.
And you can see such a change in Misfits as well. Jisoo's actually going to get caught here between 2 members. He's dunked down, pops the Zhonya's, but there's no escape from that. He'll get taken out.
And these are the picks that Fnatic Academy were looking for in this game. This is what they needed more frequently. The problem is now they will likely lose bot tower for this. Baron buff has expired, but Pride Stalker is running Runic Affinity, so it does give that last wave enough time with the Baron buff in order to push back Pride Stalker. That is an insane decision.
Yeah, don't back there, because you can see Dreams was like, I'll block for you, then Dreams is just going to die.
I mean, the problem is Pride Stalker's now had his Baron buff expire, so he doesn't get the empowered recall. Now Fnatic are trying to stop them because Kickis is taking the mid-inner tower. That was overconfidence from Pride Stalker, and it's a minor exchange. I don't think it would have been enough to save mid-tower, but certainly Kickis got a lot more room on that play than he should have.
That he did. Gold lead now only 5,000 between these two teams. Misfits Academy have been able to extend that in the last 7 minutes or so. And you can see a change in the attitude of the Misfits Academy players. If you look at their faces when they come up on those player cams, they are talking a huge amount. I can hear them through my headset. They're very verbose. They're very active in how they're playing, whereas Fnatic Academy seem just a little bit more passive, a little bit quieter. Obviously, they are at the other side of the room for us, so I can't quite hear them as well, but they don't seem to have the energy and the excitement that Misfits are carrying now.
Nor the energy that they had in game 1. The Copenhagen Wolf howls were coming out from Amazing. So did you play on Copenhagen
Yeah,
Wolves?
mate.
Is that it?
I was.
How many people play on Copenhagen Wolves?
All right. I wish. Anyway.
Don't claim you're better than Faker now. That would be the...
No.
Or yeah, I guess you'd have to have other people claim that. But.
Exactly. Baby Faker. Misfits Academy setting up in the mid lane once again. Interesting point about Caps and Niski, actually. I was talking to Koobs a couple of weeks ago, the coach for Fnatic Academy, and he was saying Niski is 50-50 whether or not he'll beat Caps in lane in scrims, but at the moment, can he beat out Cosq? Kicked back now, we're going to see the engage. Here's Dreams off towards the side, TP in by Kickis, but already Fnatic have lost a man. Kickis gets the dunk onto 2, Jisoo Cosq already gets the kill. Now Kickis jumps off towards the side, it's a 1-for-1 trade, and Niski gets away.
And Rallis was safe for that fight, just sitting back, putting damage down. So yes, Cly ended up falling, but he did enough of a good job to allow Kickis to take out Cosq. But this entire game has been Misfits favored, and they have not let up. Now Kickis is running away from Pridestalker, already used the flag and drag, so can't get himself out over a wall. Just going to run out, take the farm in bot lane, and recall.
Well, let's have a look at this engage once again, because Cosq actually catches Niski out to start.
Yeah, catches Niski. Niski, of course, has a little bit of MR here, so it's not enough to just kill him. And then Cly does the blocking job, tries to defend Amazing, who also gets stunned, but Kickis creates enough of a distraction. Rallis sits back. Nobody from Misfits can get onto a lot of the damage that remained for Fnatic Academy, and they trade 1-for-1.
Well, Elder Drake is next dragging on the cards, Baron up in 20 seconds as well. Fnatic just trying to set up around the corner here. Won't quite be able to spot out Pridestalker. There comes a point in this game where actually we might see Pridestalker engaged on here by Niski. Steps forward. There comes a point in this game stress where if this was during the regular splits, I'd be saying to my color caster, I'd be saying, Stress, could these teams play up against an LCS team? With this macro, with the level of decision making at the moment, it seems a little bit sloppy to me.
It is sloppy.
But it doesn't matter, because whoever wins this series is an LCS team. So the question becomes moot. At the moment, they're playing up against 2B LCS teams.
I think, though, at the same time, like, you've got to look at how Misfits Academy have had such a good lead, and then just here and there have given a kill. An even trade. A team fight that perhaps the Fnatic Academy couldn't take. Like, both sides have made errors that have dragged us into a sloppy game, and that puts us in an awkward position where both teams now, because it's such an important game, may withdraw back, may not take a chance unless it's like a 90% win on the fight for them. So it may slow down once again, saying that.
Jisoo has Zhonya's, has a block on there as well. Redemption's going to come out. Here's Niski gets the kill before the Redemption comes down. Glacial Fisher used and knocked back here as Misfits are going to get collapsed on. Fnatic, 5 ways they're closing in around the Misfits Academy. Rale's caught out though, the arrow doesn't miss. Cosq still in that Baron pit. Niski off towards the side is fighting against Pridestalker, who almost takes him down, jumps in. Rale's low, and Yuki gets the kill. Cosq somehow still alive in the pit as well. Now it's a 3v4 as Misfits look for a way out. There's no way to go. They're going to try and chase down Cly, but that is a very tanky Braum. Kickis gets on Dreams. Yuki kick back. Cly's going to fall eventually. Can Yuki do it? It's a 1v3 basically as he gets taken down. And now Pridestalker needs to find a way out of this fight.
That's the exact type of play we were talking about, in that Jisoo is just pushed into the enemy jungle too far against a composition that is based on picking you off. Pridestalker does his best to try and get another kill on the back of it. That would have been pretty insane. Jisoo's going to TP in and try and just clean up the scraps here.
Kickis doesn't have flash. He's going to have to try and flag and drag. There's also an equalizer up, and Kickis is going to get burnt down. That's an overstay by Fnatic.
But was that ending up worth it for Misfits Academy. Now they don't have their teleport, whereas Kikis will have his. Yes, the kill at the end of it is nice for Jisoo, but think about how Misfits may have just lost some of their tempo by picking up one kill. This is Jisoo stepping too far into the enemy jungle. Note how there are no Misfits wards in any of these brushes, so they don't know if they're face checking. Fnatic had swept them out. Cosq actually gets killed majority by Baron. For this entire exchange, he stood on the spikes. Amazing goes in, doesn't actually get much more damage. And then Rales. This is the problem Fnatic Academy have run into, is now Rales is surrounded by 3 people because Amazing and Kikis are focused on Baron and Cly is on the backside of the team fight. They're trying to collapse in, but the damage is few and far between, and they need to get Yuki. Yuki is the man that they needed to get a lot of damage onto first, and Amazing couldn't quite follow up, just gets half the damage down. Kikis picks up the kill alongside Niski, and then we ended up with a top lane fight. Pridestalker playing his heart out on this top side, trying desperately. Smoke grenade, tries to just dash, reload, get every auto, tries to just get that end of the line to kill Amazing. We're back to fighting.
Arrow onto Clyde. Kikis is off towards the side. 4 members of Misfit go into the choke point. Can Kikis get the engage?
But then the equalizer, you've got to be careful. If you go into a choke like this, you have to be careful of the equalizer. Jisoo's recalling. You cannot recall right now if you just use TP.
It feels like there's a communication gap there because Pridestalker is still so far pushed up.
He just recalled out. That loses so much presence around this Baron. Just the vision control that comes from that. Jisoo's trying to get back. Now Pridestalker's over-aggressive.
The thing is, though, if Fnatic don't know he's backed, it doesn't cost Misfits Academy anything. It's very much a mind game. Kikis actually caught out with the unleashed power. Taken down to half. Here's the redemption. Morello's will stop the grievous wounds. They've started the Baron now, Stress. They're looking for it.
Yeah, they got half health off Kikis, and they think that's enough. It's gone down very quickly.
He doesn't go in, though. The depth charge comes down. Cly tanking up a lot with that Unbreakable. The equalizer is perfect, though, as it splits Fnatic Academy in 2. Kikis gonna back away. I think he cancelled his TP.
He did. He cancelled his TP. It was Kikis recalling after they had caught him out. Was, again, Fnatic Academy. That, I believe, was in full vision of Misfits, and that was what indicated them to start on the Baron. And now they're going to look for Elder. Baron plus Elder. 6k gold lead before the Elder Drake will fall. Should be a done deal for Misfits Academy in Game 3.
Well, we've said that many a time before, Stress. They had a 10,000 gold lead at 27 minutes last game, and it took them quite a while to stop it. The arrow connects, and Kikis might fall. Unleashed power's not going to be enough to take him out.
Not enough, but it's enough for Misfits now to just move to the mid lane. They had 2 Cloud Drakes, a Mountain Drake. They will get those augmented now, and it allows them to push very quickly. Top tower had lost a little bit of its health, but it's regenerated it, so it will be the next target likely for Misfits Academy.
Misfits will back away here. Both the lanes not in the position for them to go any further, but they can retreat, they can reset, and this fight is a defining moment in this game.
Kikis takes the ultimate from Cosq, another Q and a W follow-up, and then recalls, I believe. He is sat. Is he actually in vision there? I don't think there's any wards, so they didn't see it, but they knew that chunking him down meant they couldn't, that Fnatic Academy couldn't really apply pressure around this Baron. Kikis just cancels the teleport in time because the rest of his team had already fled. That would have meant almost certainly a game loss if Kikis had completed that TP. And for the criticism on Jisoo for recalling earlier, you're right, it was out of vision of Fnatic, and they end up paying... It ends up paying off hugely because they had a very healthy Rumble come back into the fight. They took the Baron, and now Misfits Academy are looking to take the game.
Once again, going to push forward to this inhibitor. Pridestalker does a lot of work on these towers. The first one's going to fall as they continue the push in this bottom lane. Mid-inhib, of course, already down from that that last push, and they'll get the second inhibitor of the game. Misfits perhaps will reset. They might even go up towards top here, but Pridestalker steps a little bit forward. Needs to be cautious because there was a charm, of course, and the Demacian standard combo, the flag and drag from Kikis, is always a risk you have to run into. Pridestalker once again staying around perhaps a little bit too long here. Dreams as well. 3 members of Misfits are backed away, and Fnatic smell their opportunity. Pridestalker kicked back into Kikis and Cly, and Pridestalker is gonna fall.
But how much can Fnatic actually get from that pick? Mid lane pushing towards them, bot lane pushing towards them, and nothing in the top lane because Jisoo has just cancelled out the slow pushing wave. So for Fnatic Academy, it is a pick 35 seconds before the Baron buff expires. That means there is nothing on the map to do.
Apart from perhaps catch Cly with the arrow, Unleashed Power comes down as well. He's going to stand beside me, but the Equalizer is well placed to burn through him.
Jisoo.
And now Jisoo comes in with the Flame Spitter, but doesn't get the Zhonya's off. Fnatic Academy will take a kill in return. It's a support for a top laner.
He had the Zhonya's available, as he said, didn't manage to get it off in that exchange. And oh, Misfits Academy, it's got a little bit scrappy, but they should have enough to close it out right now. Fnatic Academy will breathe a sigh of relief. That Baron buff has now expired. But Misfits Academy have been maybe a little overconfident in some of these exchanges.
We're still at the point where one good team fight for Fnatic Academy can really get them back into this game. If they win a fight, get 4 kills or 5 kills and just push mid, they could even take the game if the waves are pushing in their favor. So Misfits do need to be cautious. They keep engaging onto these tankier members.
Well, yeah, it is a tanky member, but still, Cly ends up falling, and now that means that Fnatic's ability to control vision for the next couple of minutes, or next minute or so, is severely reduced. Misfits Academy now place wards on their way out, and now they can track up through the top side. They're looking for top inhibitor tower. Kikis is going to push out bot side because he has teleport available. He has 8 kills. Despite this game starting in a rough spot for Kikis, it is actually turned around, but are the kills enough? If he can destroy CosQ or Yuki in a fight, maybe that's enough for Fnatic.
Got put out with the Scatter the Weak into the Equalizer, but that's a big ultimate used. Raleigh has used his QSS as well, so Misfits can continue just to pressure down. They've got 2 waves pushing in the other lanes with the supers. Amazing's looking for the flank. Yeah,
he's also trying to just clear out that control ward because they're trying to open up the flank pathing for Kikis. Raleigh's going to try and clear this wave. Kikis wants to go!
Here comes Kikis, 2-man kick. CosQ, though, will use the Zhonya's, and Misfits can reset the fight. Kikis is down. Cly, the front line.
Raleigh's got stunned!
Man, stun! Raleigh is low. So's Niski. So's Cly. He's going to fall. Fnatic are scattering to the winds. Back to the fountain with you, says Yuki. A quadra kill for him as Misfits Academy look to go 2-1 up.
After the first game, it was looking rough.
Go for the penta, Yuki!
It will be his 2nd penta of the promotion tournament.
Go for it. Niski is there. Bright Stalker's doing what he can. Niski so low, but Yuki can't quite get it. Niski gets a kill for himself. The Nexus is going to fall. Yuki steps forward once again. He gets the penta as Misfits Academy take the game.
Yuki with the 2nd pentakill of the promotion tournament. The game was done before that. Misfits Academy, a full turnaround from game 1, now sit at match point to make their way into the LCS.
The 2nd penta of the promotion series and the 2nd penta of the EULCS split. As well stressed, Yuki, the only man to get a penta in Spring Split. It just shows Challenger Series is strong enough to face up against some of these LCS rivals. Great play by Misfits, managing to close it out eventually, but there were some bumps along the road.
I don't know that that's really how you quantify it. Like Challenger, 2 pentas, LCS, no pentas. We got to just track back, find out how many splits EU had pentas and LCK didn't, and then we can be like, this season, this one was the best.
Stats don't lie, Stress. Stats don't lie.
Well, what you can't really lie about is the fact that Misfits have completely turned this series around. And a lot of it is to do with their execution in game, punishing Fnatic, but a lot of it is to do with Fnatic picking some wonky drafts. I don't think the draft was the problem, but it's difficult to play out when you're trying to play pick against a team that has shown they can reliably engage. Yes, there are mistakes here and there, but Misfits have found the engages more often than not.
That they have, and you have to wonder, though, if Fnatic were able to play as well as they did in the first game, whether Misfits will be able to match that level of macro, because there have been bumps along the road, and if Fnatic weren't 6,000 goal behind when they happened, weren't 10,000 goal behind when that bump happened, it's going to be a lot closer of a game.
I really actually, the next step of this, I think, can be a closer game, but I need to see Rales on something different. The Varus is such a strong pick, but either the team needs to peel for him better, or he needs to play something like his Ezreal from last week.
Ezreal was so strong for him. Misfits Academy take the win and the lead in the series. We're going to go and see what Dracos and the guys think of Game 3.
Game 3 looking pretty Misfits favored as well. Shout out to Crepo. Excellent prediction on that Syndra first pick.
Yeah, it totally makes sense if you look at banning out LeBlanc and then keeping the strong early pick. Because as I talked about, and only I talked about the Fischio, it is really about the mid lane pressure that then translates in the other lanes.
I agree 100% with everything you just said, and that's all I have to add.
I figured. You've been a little short for words today, if we're honest. Well, let's look at how the early game played out. They did get the Syndra in the mid lane. They also had Rumble on the top side into Jarvan. That was interesting, but when we look at it, it was a very solid start for Misfits Academy.
I mean, this is why Crepo wanted the Syndra first pick, because it allows you to set up plays like this with your jungler. You get an advantage, and then what do you do, Crepo, with this first pick Syndra?
This actually I learned from one of the greatest analytical minds that I talk to very often about League. Monte Cristo told me that, you know, once you get the lead in the mid lane, you translate it towards the top side of the map. You just go for a little bit of a poke there, and then you isolate that objective. It's, in essence, a rotation, if I may. And then they got the early turret top lane.
Okay, yeah, so Himborg, that's very true. Later, we didn't see it in this one. Syndra did join in the top lane, rotation, and they got that top lane tower.
They poked out that
This was a bit of a bait, just forcing Kikis off. And Jarvan was a pick in this game. Not predicted by Mitch for once. He didn't actually get that one. But I don't understand Kiki's way of picking right now, because he has counter pick, and I feel like he really have options to like really counter the Rumble. And Jarvan just got shoved in lane over and over and over. And I understand it against Syndra, Ashe. Like, it's fantastic late game. You jump in, you get the kill. But all these games have been decided in the early game. So I don't think you should sit there and draft for outside of the laning phase.
I mean, what would have the thought process been? Was it exclusively for mid to late game? Is there something Jarvan can do in the early game?
It's probably the level 6 spike with the Lee Sin then joining.
With your jungler.
Yeah, like from synergy from scrims. But the problem was Misfits were so aggressively playing mid, and they chose to translate that lead into top lane. You do not get to act. If the enemy team has a lead mid, they get to choose which side they snowball. They went for top lane, which means amazing you have to play on the bottom side of the map, and there was nothing to be done then, and then the Jarvan fell behind.
Right, and Jarvan was really good later on. So again, we got to see the reason for Jarvan being used, but again, the problem, as I said before, is that this series now has just been so decided early on. None of these teams have actually thrown away a lead. It's been Fnatic winning the early game of game 1, they closed that game. Misfits now done it twice. Yeah, you can argue there's 1 or 2 hiccups here and there, but they're always in a massive or a pretty large lead, so I think going for the scaling picks with the Jarvan top pick against an Ashe is not necessary, even though Jarvan's scaling is debatable compared to other picks. But I just want to see Kikis get like a lane counter where he can really snowball the lane, because that's what he did so well against Giants.
Well, one thing we have seen now from Misfits Academy is that when you do give them an advantage, they are more than confident to continue to snowball a lead, to keep that ball rolling. And we saw that in the fight around Dragon more towards the early game. We saw just solid team fight coordination, excellent play overall. And as we get a chance to look at that shortly, I mean, this is exactly what we wanted from the team.
As you slow down your speech until eventually the replay starts. No, but this was a super decisive fight. And again, key players in a lot of these fights for the Misfits Academy is Jisoo and Brightstalker, and they seem to have a lot of presence, especially Jisoo. He carried over that momentum in the early game with some key equalizers throughout the game.
And he found a pick to use on blue side, which is what we're talking about, how it's really difficult to get like winning solo laners on blue side because the enemy team have like double counter pick in most situations. And yet in this game here, both solo laners from Misfits actually won the lane, because the Syndra first pick was very smart, and then obviously the Rumble didn't get counter picked specifically, and it actually meant that Misfits blue side could take this advantage, even though Fnatic picked red side and never really came up with any sort of counter picks.
Is that JWoww with them?
I think it is.
Looks like I'm always really afraid when I want to call out like a sub or somebody who's standing next to the team and just be wrong, but it looks like JWoww, former LCS. Top laner just talking to Jisoo is like, don't make the mistakes I did in the past.
That's why you're playing.
All right, well.
Jisoo's been great, by the way.
Jisoo has been a solid performer. On the Jace, I was skeptical if it would be good enough into the Fizz. He made it work. He did make it work with the Rumble into the Jarvan this time. Didn't seem at all flustered or startled by the pick at all.
No, exactly. And I think this is why he was a pick to watch for Mitch, if we go back to the A block. And he's actually been a standout player who's been able to handle Kikis, who is the star player on Fnatic Academy.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Fnatic had side selection last time. We can assume that red side has been the priority and will remain the priority. Now that Misfits get a chance, Well, do you think Misfits are going to fall into the same trap that we saw Fnatic fall into, where they maybe didn't respect the Rumble or tried too hard maybe to find a counter pick into a composition?
I mean, you can still counter pick a Rumble. This champion is not broken on blue side. The problem is you can use one of the conventionally established meta picks. You don't, like, yes, it sucks to be a meta slave, but sometimes the Koreans, they have it figured out for a reason, you know? You don't need to go for Jarvan 4 every time.
Yeah, maybe not exactly what we wanted to see. Well, guys, looking at the series overall, are you going to shift your predictions at all as we get ready for Game 4 here? Can Fnatic Academy close this out with a 3-1?
I mean, they can definitely close it out. I think we've seen both teams really understand how to get ahead in the early game, really just depending on picks, and maybe like the first jungle gank. Yeah. It's been in favor of Pride Stalker 2 games now. The first one was in favor of Amazing. I mean, yeah, momentum, you can give it to Misfits Academy. I kind of feel like Fnatic will now have an adaptation, and they will come storming into this fourth game, and I think it's a very high chance.
Misfits Academy are still a tad slow on the plays. You know, the setup could be a bit swifter. We saw a few good reactions from Fnatic, so I'm not ready to rule them out just yet, but you can see that if mid jungler has a good combination that's winning, that generally influences the game a lot.
I think also now 2 games in a row, Misfits have had mid lane control with the Syndra. Yeah. Don't give that away as a first pick to Fnatic Academy now. Like, just ban it then. Just get rid of it. Because then suddenly Niski hasn't really been able to do a whole lot. Like, his Ahri was lackluster.
Yep. At the end of the day, though, we're going to have to find out, can Fnatic Academy come back and take this to Game 5? We're going to find that out when we return.
Here comes Kikis, he's looking for the engage. Clyde jumps in, the Baron is low. Rana survives, Kikis jumps in, they've got the Rumble, and now they're looking for more. Dreams dead, Baron across towards Misfits. It's a 2-for-2 exchange with the Baron. Coscu in the front line gets away from Niski. Here comes Coscu with the unleashed power. The charm is going to connect Kikis there. Pride Stalker, there's the equalizer, and Fnatic are going to burn down. Fnatic are scattering to the winds. Back to the fountain with you, says Yuki. A quadra kill for him as Misfits Academy look to go 2-1 up. The Nexus is going to fall. Yuki steps forward once again. He gets the penta as Misfits Academy take the game.